Once upon a time.
You better listen with both your ears, boy. Keep your machine on, because sometimes I talk fast, sometimes I talk slow. You're not going to know why I switch. Think it's some sort of mistake, but I'm going to be making a few real crucial points about what kind of faithful we are in these pots. That'll require a bunch of storytelling tricks. Nobody in Illskagaard about to tell you a better one about the code and what a man will do for it. Law of some other lands works so you can break your word and swindle someone without ample punishment. In some other locales, they'll get nothing that if you write it down or get some scuttling official to watch over it. Well, that counts as a pact, right? Ironclad. I reckon in your neck of the woods, it's a bit like you gotta make blood oath. Am I correct? What the hell does blood do for anyone if it ain't even in motion? This ain't the type of story I calculated I'll be repeating much. It's not a story that many who run these captured records would believe. To that I say, look up at the Grand Tower. You're the type to believe your eyes. I'm the same way sometimes. I got a feeling about you. You ain't gullible, and you know that the truth are two different beasts. I'm going to tell you about fidelity to the truth, about keeping your word. Now, firstly, boy, tell me this. What's a guy worth but his actions? What's a guy's word even worth? His soul is what I wager it's worth. I wager your word is the skeleton of the soul. Making the promise is the soul bit. Keeping a promise is the skeleton action part. Structural integrity is measured by how well an object lives up to its promise. You see a house with interlocking bricks and piping, chimneys, and it all promises you that you'll be safe if you take shelter within. You walk through the threshold, and if a draft catches whatever skin you got showing, that's a broken promise. That house ain't worth the sweat shed to put it together. We pick our decorations well carefully. On the inside of walls of structural marvels, you'll not be a lunatic to see the inlays and engravings of a giant blue stoneworker, the steadfast sapphire, the mammoth stone of promise itself, the gem of fidelity itself. We don't bow down and worship this thing. No, it's an active prayer. We chip that thing down and it grows back nearly in front of your eyes. It suddenly strikes me, remind you of this, the sapphire is work itself. If you ain't got a custom, if a fella can throw out a true promise, and then a fella through with the fulfillment of that promise, then by God, he'll see his words and deeds turn into one. An unfulfilled promise leaves a blackened soul in the frame that holds your guts together. Every damn time. Every damn time, chat. Every damn time. And me, I made a promise. A promise is what made me. The type of promise that sears the mind when that little shade of undoubt shambles towards you with the murder in its eyes, a taste for your disposition. When doubt gets that flavor in its mouth, by God, you get an awful familiar with it. Doubt just fogs a guy up, confuses you, makes a man into a twisted ball of confusion, makes you bedfellows with confusion, makes you live as confusion. That's a lot of fucking confusion. You're a man, immoral, certainly ain't you, boy? Heh, shows my time a bit. If you're a man and I call you a boy, what's that make me? A relic? Nah, not in the slightest. I'm in my prime. Heh. But my talk must make me sound older and half the developments in this damn city. Damn near more ancient than the ground they're crafted on. Don't get lost now, boy. Don't let your mind drag. The telling of the story is going to be different for every person on Eld. I'm a rambler. Let me ramble all over and fill your glass. Had a drink, spirit myself, not too long back. Was coming back from the spot we call Sensory Peak, knocking down a bit of lumber. Sometimes the drink will get you feisty about your work. Well, normally I ain't got a taste for the stuff, really. Spirits, not lumber. This guy loves to chop some wood. Well, I ain't about to take a swig of lumber. Gal, I'm burying myself here, not even making sense. I used to talking to your type. Always got to get straight to the point. No care given to the journey. Always about collecting little truths like gems. Never about what's correct. Sometimes you put the truths in line and find if they don't add up to the truth as you see it. So where, pray tell, is the truth? Ain't just a collection of facts, boy. Thought I don't touch the drink very often anyhow. My dear companion, old Cole, swilled it down. Colton was a cold man. Not in demeanor, no. Guy was a toasty, warm fella'd be around, always laughter at your jokes, even when he'd heard 'em thrice. I bet on Hog's Eye that he was about the nicest man a guy could get to know he was. Nah, what I meant by cold is even though the man was well used to being lonesome, damn sure made Cole shiver. Don't get ahead of me, boy. Now, now. He had a good family. Took care of him well. It ain't one of them stories. Never went to bed without a belly full of supper, carefully read story from his ma, and a good night kiss. And in terms of functionality, when he sprouted up and came of age, he was the first to find a wife. Ellie. That girl fell so hard in love with that goofy fella Colton that I'm surprised she didn't get impact shock from the whole ordeal. Surprised he didn't talk her ear to stone and blow it all to hell. Well, I get sad just thinking about it. Maybe you can see where this is going. Colton just seemed to have a heart that shrunk away from its surroundings, kept to itself so the owner didn't get hurt. He was a darling husband to Ellie, was generous as a man could get, hard worker too. Guy could heft a boulder up and down flat wall without bead of sweat. Old Colton could twist the sea into a rope with all I seen. He twisted his lady's heart into snug and comfortable knots with the way she went on about him. I turned to him once, talking about the booze again. What's the point in numbing yourself to the real in a freezing place like Illskagaard? You'll be numb from the cold anyway. You're fighting being numb with something that makes you numb. Or something like that. He laughed, and the tail of his laugh trailed off into the not little sadness. I don't care how I feel about the cold until I drink. It takes a lot to get me sentimental. I guess I'm trying to make myself more tender, Laurel. Didn't make sense to me that Colton, of all the people, was such a rock-hearted underneath the hugs and backslaps and all the drunked-up kisses on the cheek. You can't tell me you don't feel something for your wife. She's a beautiful woman, flesh and soul she is, and she takes care of your sorry ass when you stumble home from the tavern. Hell, she's built the first mobile safety mechanism in Illskagaard. That's got to count for something. In a hurry, Colton interrupted and defended himself. Laurel, you know you'd be meaningless to unless someone was tender enough to care. I ain't sure about the reason, but I got to get some shots in for when I come home so that when we make love, I feel it the way she does. He took a deep, curious breath. My darling is a staggering blessing, Hailsson. She feels enough for the both of us. My sentiment feels locked away. The devil's temptation is giving me an easy key to that trunk. But hey, if he's pouring, then I don't mind slugging him down. You're tender as hell, Laurel. You know that? The slightest breeze could fell you. I stood up straighter, puffed up my chest, and stared in. Oh, you shove it far, Cole. I'm built like our damn locomotive system. It was based off of me, based off of fire in your belly, tough as steel and quicker than a whip. Reckon my lip just quivers a bit more than most folks, but sea lion rattles a little too. We had both heads in Colt's locomotive network. It revolutionized the infrastructure of Illskagaard, and not a mite of exaggeration there. Under his lead, I became more and more useful. We built a train system that was successful as it was elegant. Looked like some fun ride the way it was twisted and darted into the sky, through heaps of snow, under frozen rivers. Interlocking framework that we had tracks looking like sinuous lattice work. What a farce comparing myself to something that incredible. To hell with gold. We struck rock. With Cole's wife, Ellie, designing the safety mechanism, it was perfect. She lined the whole system with sensors that scanned the track for anything organic, bigger than a bug. Anything in harm's way, harm's pick or another. At that point, they hadn't a single accident since they laid the first bit of track. He has yet to achieve anything that matched in dedication. He would have thought once again, with the help of his beloved, he achieved just that, shattering doubt like a sugar glass. Colton took a sip of his drink. As I was saying, I never got to the bottom of real well. No, I just figuring a few cups of night sleek is enough for me. Get you ready to work, and work is action, my boy. You heard of it? Night sleep, I mean. Even a weary sumbitch like you probably heard to hell work. The sleet's an ancient Illskagaard secret. We make out of mocha leaves. They got to be frozen solid before you can grind it up or it'll catch your machine and drag stems. You should have a swig a time or two. Even mix it with your liquor. Helps your wing all the nutrition from your daily meals and amps you up something savage. Helps the guy line his frame with mass and not blubber neither. You build shark muscle as heaps faster sipping it on, you do indeed. Sounds like you're going to need to find these mocha leaves out there. Now if you grow a good and swiggable set muscles, that'll promise you're going to keep people safe. Just keep the light on. Build a boat. Know how to steer the damn thing. You know how to sell the damn thing when you're through with it. Colton there was a frame of bone, and rest of him was a plum stacked with muscle. So by design, he was built to build, but was always snuck more on his plate when we weren't looking. Ha! Protected by all the sinews, so he couldn't protect anyone else from the big storm the world brewed up. Built the damn walls to help you weather it too. I'll brag about one solidarity thing. Our brilliance as Illskagaard folks has always been our integrity. No man alive could ever sever the kissing close tie of devotion we have with our word. I wasn't raised in a family of liars, and I'll never raise my kids, whatever I get to making them, with a dart of bedrock of dishonesty. Once you go ahead and lay that bedrock in doubt, not only a good chance you can build a home on it, you gotta always do your best, keep your word. I was about ass high to a fruit fly when I first met Colton. Fast friends, we was fast friends. Once instance, we're putting together a bridge to rescue us from dropping our bounties after gathering a mess of joy pears at the forest down by the old gray trail. We didn't give a damn if it was haunted or what. You know that place where you lost your code recorder? Just disappeared, damn near spooky. Now they'll tell you got to get with the times and get yourself a networked one. Don't care with much of word of mouth. Too many liars around. Well, the network, it works for us. Anyhow, the network didn't exist back then. So when it built that bridge so nice and sturdy that someone have to happen upon it, no bother for us. We did it for the love of the craft because we were the boys getting real hurried on, impatient for when we're going to turn. Well, there's another reason. Ellie's been through our same troubles with gathering joy pears. None of us kids allowed to eat them. But I tell you, the kind of fondness Colton would soon enough get out of the rewards. Them fermented fruits brought the adults. Elle would come home with a bushel of 3, being that her pa would sell all strengths of liquid joy. We helped her out and made her pa his wage. Joy pears are useless little boogers until they freeze over and drop off the trees, and that's what's inside their ice capres, that they start brewing up all kinds of sweet and mischievous syrups. Nobody's about to mess with the two boys on account of the reputation we built. Both of us would give you one shot to punch our lights out, and then it was gloves off. Them goons knew they'd be better get one good shot in, 'cause that'd be all bloody tolerated. When Ellie was a little one, like the rest of us, before those two got thinking about marriage and all that complicated business, that sweet girl told a local kid whose pa run the grocery store that she got a bad apple. She was polite about it and just wanted to make certain that none of the other kids spent their hard-earned coins on a snack that didn't live up to its shiny red promise. Wanted to what? The creep answered back. To make sure that your daddy knows about it. He wouldn't like it if you were here giving people spoiled apples to eat, sir. I'm helping. That just angered him further. What would you know about helping them grown-ups? Sorry, I was just trying to help. I was really trying. Do you want me to play? What word's your name? The crucial boy answered back. Oh, we can play outright. You reach for a stone. I'm going to throw this rock at you. And you're going to have to catch it, okay? Oh, I'm not going to be good on it. What if it hits me? Ah! Yeah, what if it does? His lips curled into a cruel sneer as he reeled back and hurled the rock at the dead center of Ellie's forehead. She let out a scream that could scar a shade faithless. Now the three of us spent a lot of time together. Colton had heard Ellie scream like that one other time when a snake bit her in the leg. It was less the pain than it was the fear of what the snake do next time. Now she had a new snake to deal with. Cole sprinted through the woods, hurdled thick roots, swung on snow-sheathered branches, and slid across frozen streams. Not a hair of doubt sprouting from that weary kid's skull. The snake was whipped within a flash of his life, that rotten boy. I'd never seen a fight that fierce, for I could even check on Eli's forehead. That foul kid had far deeper gashes than his. I had to pull Cole off before he'd slaughter the little idiot. Dumb tormentor had heard tell me of as well. So when I stood over him, he let out a holler far more pitiful than what heard from Ellie. He lay on the ground squirming and whimpering, blood drizzling from both nostrils. I'm sorry I told you about that apple. You know what? You're a bad apple. You're a bad apple, she said with a kick, obviously not putting her weight into it, stumbling a little from the effort, holding back. Not that her little legs would cause much damage, but she was honestly concerned for him, if not the mite bit sore at his cowardly actions. The concerns didn't keep her from running to Cole, who was ripping his sleeves in a bandage for her. She thanked him. And through the trickle of blood gave a smile as Colton cleaned her wound with melted snow and bandaged her pretty well. It's like the bandana, Ellie. You look cool. Smiles shine wilder. That was the same smile she gave him on their wedding day much later, way after that. Quite recently, well, Ellie? Uh-oh. So like I was saying, she become one of the best railroad safety engineers the world had ever seen. If it wasn't for working on Cole's train line, she'd be holding the sky up with her own two hands. Ellie swore to keep Colton's machine safe for everyone, and by God, you could start a razor's edge pendulum swinging right above your head, and there was no chance with Ellie round that you'd get so much as a haircut from the thing. Look out yonder, boy. That flying buttresses on the shell layer, the skylights, the twisting but rock-steady Comfort Gem Hospital, and the sky rail, and the inner layers with their vaulted ribbons, and the houses with the roofs looking like it'd be cut as jewels. Ain't a draft to be found, and I bet any man, any sum, that he won't find any. Look to the sideways clover field and the upside-down tulips. Look on the AM system where none laborious mining goes on, and look! The Ox bloodline mine where the blood of the land itself is spilled by the backbreakers such myself. Now took a look at that tower, boy. Ain't it beautiful herself? I think it symbols that great tower, the leg. Well, it might be rightly. Hold up to the moon. I ask you, boy, if the moon came unstuck, would you take the burden, or would you pass it along to the next lad? Heard tell of an ancient story through the guy telling. Me was a windy as four-winged duck. Me as a windy as a four-winged duck. Wow, I've never heard that saying. That's an interesting one. It's a sad one time on the planet. There wasn't no big gems or sundering or great fire or anything you might have heard about. No, kid. They had a garden where the caretaker of that word built paradise. And you'd think it's secure as the Savior itself would be. But apparently the gods have their own problems. Come to find out, they had a snake problem. In paradise, you can't even keep out the snakes. There's always a leak, always a hole, always some simple mistake or weakness. I fucking agree with that. I love this lore. Dude, I love how the lore actually throws in, like, I don't know, just like simple truths about life as well. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, it's relatable. It is relatable. Does that make sense? There's always at least one snake in paradise. One beautiful morning, the trains were running late on the account. Ellie was sending out her workers to patch up a few hunks of metal siding. They'd be curiously eaten away in the pattern of where the light hit them. Snow on the lines was no big deal since she'd put up the tracks, hold their heat, and a drainage system set up to catch the trickle. Cosmetic siding, though, that was the issue at hand. Illskagaardians are particular about our work looking right. It ain't mere aesthetics, boy. Nah, nothing fool's gold about what we're building. The decorative fancy pants element is about making a promise that the mechanics and structures themselves fulfill. I really like that. The Illskagaard power station. Look on the vibrant tubing where the soul stones become that which warms the hearth. I'll tell you, boy, all three of us worked in that place where we was still in school. I'm a fucking Illskagaard. How do I sign up in the Discord to be Illskagaard? I'm doing it after this video. Without the planet, we will freeze. Without the plant, we will freeze. I'm sure you're understanding. I really should give you more credit. It's an odd sort of thing happened out of nowhere. You can't even imagine what's in store next. Linking up the old idea of cause and effect, harder than strangling the sun. It's an odd sort of way. When the workers came out, they noticed the mysterious corrosion and reported it back. In a hushed voice that mentioned everything was covered in an overcast shadow. Almost that nothing of it at the time. Ellie was furious. Had she failed to make the rail network look as safe as she made it? And did we have a heavenly saboteur? She grabbed her Angledorn jacket and rushed out immediately. I can't believe it! I had no idea why this one. What exactly did you see? The shadow? The room smoking? What did you see? In a sudden, the poor woman's eyes glazed over. The overcast shadow was long faded. Staring at the corrosion of the glistening of the noonday sun, off in the tracks gave her some sort of calm. She began to shiver. Smiling, she began to shiver. She called in an all clear. Her workers were pleased they didn't have to fix what announced to be a mere tarnish. The train sailed majestically through the corkscrew loops and fishtails about the most beautiful marble construction one would happen upon, and then it did again. Now, boy, I don't mean it went in circles. It just happened again. The whole event. Ellie was fiddling with the sensor line's power box. It looked as if she was tightening a screw, but people who were there said she had a huge, eerie smile. Some uncomfortable determination behind her tinkering. Something was wrong. Give me a swig of that, kid. I'm not going to need to go to Colton's way with the drink right now. Pour it tall, pour it tall. He's unnerved by this. So someone among the Deer staff reported an abysmal disturbance in the area. People separated from the ground. They walked on their charge, went forth. Eyes rolled back into their heads for microseconds. Fingers twisted into horror shows, and flesh right back. Alarm was sounding by Ellie's workers, and a few guards took up arms. I grabbed my coat and my 6-shoot wheel gun, loaded it with the sapphire rounds. A disturbance of that caliber required a high-caliber pistol. I need a sapphire 6-shooter, bro. Let's go. High caliber. But there it was, a flicker of doubt. That abysmal nonsense couldn't be possible, could it? That close to the city, didn't show up on any cameras. That video format detects abysmal energy, and they activate on the soul stones themselves. Either our security system was in a bad way, or we were in the shadow of a new abysmal evolution. The former was damn near impossible. I had to shake off any inferno of doubt that the second option injected with me. Never let that business take root, boy. Never let it take root. You hear that? You hear that out there? Never let the abyssal take root. Abyssal. Sorry. The abyssal. Super sorry. Thanks, HQ. Thank you. I showed up at the scene. I reported it to a concern. I squinted, nervously checked my revolver. I was checking the revolver out. Once I was sure all the rounds were shimmering blue, I walked into the operations of the room of safety complex, and I looked at the footage. I still don't know the emotion I felt staring at the screen. Felt as being embraced by a woman. I felt like being stabbed to death and resurrected over and over. I felt like my eyes were boiling fierce. I was seeing out of the whites of my eyes, boy. All I could make out was shivering mash of flesh and the gargantuan hand slamming the ground like it was testing the ripeness of a melon. I had doubt to my eyes. For my own safety, doubt was not a currency I could utilize. Shut off the doubt. Shut it off, Lorel. Shut it the fuck off, Lorel! A deep breath helped. A deep breath and checking the weapon always helps. Oh shit, gun's still there. And in the following act, you can finally see what kind of man you really are. The other officials saw entirely different scenes, had a hard time describing it. One poor woman was choking on nothing at all. Guy was puking upward like a profaned fountain. I myself was feeling my bones crack. Something was needing doing, but we hadn't getting to it fast, and with the seamstress precision. Shame our duty was in a totally different area than her. A coincidental misdirection. We were late. A moment late, but an eternity late. A second, but forever. As the train approached, Ellie threw herself in front of it, mimicking the metal machine's corkscrew twist, a twisted elegance as she spun through the air. The sensors were no longer active. The alarms, a broken promise. Staring dreamily at the sun, she was gone. Word travels fast in Illskagaard, and Colton was traveling faster. He bounded toward the train line. Ellie's subordinates had hit the emergency brake. Colt stared at the misting of red on the tracks. Ugh. There was nothing left to mourn but rust and steam. Colton threw his wrench far from sight and wept. I tried to talk to him afterwards. I couldn't imagine his pain. He seemed unnaturally calm, intense in rapid mood swings. Started drinking a lot more. I need to feel this. I need to feel this. Right? All caps. I need to feel this. Takes me 3 times. Sorry. With a jug in his fist, he came back to the side of her demise, where we'd set up a little... Listen, first of all, before I go any further, I do think that something about the text background word color could be a little better. I don't know. Something about the eyes and reading all the way through could be slightly clearer, but I get where we're going here, having our own lore and like text files and stuff like that. But my God, I'm like slightly dyslexic. I'm not the best, dude. I'm a math and science person. I was never an English history person. You guys are pushing me to my limits. Push it to the limit. With a jug and fists, he came back to the side of her demise, where we'd set up for a little memorial, a metal sculpture of a corkscrew train tracks. Whipped it up in a daze. He whispered something. I promise, Ellie. I promise that I couldn't make out what that promise was. Colton took to building a memorial of his own. Lorel, I'm not going to forget her. Oh, come on, none of us are. She was formed from something beyond our understanding. One hell of a woman, Ellie. My voice quivered. His was steady. You don't know. You don't know what I'm going to do for her. Cole and I began to sob myself. Cole, I promise, whatever you're doing, I'll help you see it through. Thank you, old friend. We love you. He set off for work on a bigger monument, one that could only skim the mass of Ellie's gargantuan heart, but it was work. Plug it into the sky, a great tower grew. It was built in that same corkscrew pattern that you see him up there moving about, hear ungodly screams of oblivion, but he kept working until no longer he could make the man out among the sea of clouds above. He'd pierced a firmament. We set up respirators with unmanned drones. The old ones coming down had the altitude filters worryingly soaked in blood, nosebleeds. Colt was way too high. At that height, you start getting unsteady. There's some good reason Illskagaard focus on long stretches, immense depths, and sturdy construction. Get too close to the sun, lose your footing, and that's the way it all turns out. Last I saw Colton was the red thumbprint on a letter he sent down. Said he'd set off to save her from her time, to bring her back from the heavens. Oh no, that wasn't a mission he'd intend to come back from, or maybe he did in some odd way. I took part in the drone in a fit. I needed to see the camera footage. However gruesome, the footage was gruesome. It was. Cole was so high up, he had a nosebleed, was chattering about paying all of his wages for Ellie's life. He was describing copies and copies of her body, fingers interlocked, spinning around the tower, moaning in agony. Is that what he was seeing? Obviously nothing lives at that altitude, not even the unliving. But that brought me back to the incident report of Ellie's accident. Girl was happy, content, but wasn't acting right at the very end. After that, shade and the following sunlight, to have the abyss clutch your heart that close to the village, I don't have time to deduce. In the drone footage, I saw Cole fall. Then again. Boy, give me that bottle. Altitude sickness accounts for the hallucinations and the damn nosebleeds. Nothing accounts for what's beyond the abyss. We don't know it. Whatever the hell it was, we found him frozen from the wall. Colton had immediate cremation in private. Jess, me and his mother, she always had me over when he was kids, and it was like it was. No matter how much she was grieving, she barely showed it. Too busy looking after me, offering meals and night sleep, reminding me of the charming, cool distance Colton had. I kept waiting for a sight that didn't show. I told her this might be the last she saw me because I owed her boy a promise. He knew if I'd chased death off in the ledge of life, she'd even turn from the stove. After all, it's something any Illskagaardian learns the day they're born. You can't go back on a promise. I tightened the straps around a forfeiting urn, tied on a joy flower garland, made exactly how Ellie made them since she was a girl, almost begging for her pretty strawberry blonde hair to hold the thing. I clipped on the carabiners, made my ascent. I bought a few tools, but just like Cole, I intended to float the actual building materials upward to make certain things go smoothly as I could. I climbed until those below looked nice. I climbed until those below looking like ants. I had frost in my hair. The atmosphere was clinging ice crystals to my cephalopod braided beard. Cephalopod? Aren't those like things that live in the sea? Sun shimmering off of them crystals. It was making me damn near snowblind. And then the mission was damn near crazy, if not riding on crazy's back, the way Cole was riding on mine. I got to the top of the hard, regular correspondence with the people on the ground. I got to the top and had regular correspondence with the people on the ground. I was fighting all instinct to keep my teeth from clenching. Didn't help, along with the windburned nose. My gums was bleeding from all the sheer power of my bite. Calm down. My bite on nothing but determination. Held it like a cold owl's eye held prey. Held it like I held a raw steel being hefted by those small vessels in flight. I pulled out my electric torch, put it into the sunbeam outlet Colton installed so he didn't have to bring up too much power. Big generator would be dead. Wait, and Illskagaard is all about efficiency. Oh, we plugged in a sunbeam outlet. So he didn't have to bring it. So an electric torch he could plug into a sunbeam outlet Colton installs. He was getting power from the sun up there because he'd gotten so high he was past the clouds. Changed respirators and got to melting together strands of hard steel. Manganese and collided carbon was coming up with the steel. I was mixing them as I melted, getting one hell of an alloy, every bit as smooth as what Cole fashioned up. I could only do my best. Had a strike of terror when I noticed I never sent for ceramic tubes. You need those to keep out the air. Well, no need to block the alloy from the oxygen at this height. Colloid carbon repels moisture, and Ellie's design kept it holding the heat. I seemed to do this on workers' flow. This was the exact topic I was keeping mine busy with. Black wings and long twisting arms were in the peripheral. Whoa, black wings and long twisting arms? No, straight ahead. Can't look away. Had my welding gloves a little too small, fitting them fingers snug and optimized fine motor control and high freeze. I wasn't going to screw this up, but I got to thinking when I was going to stop. Enough was enough, and I didn't know enough from a rip in the clouds. Cole never left us a blueprint. Unusual of him, so I reckon he lost it. No shame in that. An impossible job offered few graces. I thought for a glancing moment how none of us considered Ellie's death intentional. Didn't consider Cole's that neither. So far as I know, because we'd still be determined on it, Ellie and Colton died in the process of construction. Noble way to go, and he's constructing this thing right now. Now, kid, Illskagaard is made of layers. You wouldn't know it seeing how you're an outsider, but low enough and they get closer together, and an exponential deal. Higher, it's more space than them layers got in between them. High enough and you can't barely distinguish the ferment of the glory alloy and the collided glass from the heavens themselves. I knew I was past the ferment, which spelled danger. Cole went to the cloud layer, a hardened net of condensation made to look like normal clouds. It self-repairs, so neither of us worried about drilling through. But now I was just wondering for a little flash, what high hell was I doing? Finishing a man's impossible monument, offing myself, keeping my word. I confess I might have thought it on more than a moment. It didn't seem like at the time. There's no way I could have known. I changed respirators again, stuffed up my nose with climbing cotton. Altitude sickness was eating at me, but there was something I didn't want to see. I was feeling like their job was near finish, twisting a helix out of the rails with some sort of end in sight. Finally, and the horror hit me. I dropped a rail nearly off in the tower. I couldn't hear it fall or nothing. In front of me, as clear as day, a new birth stream was a jerking and twisting set of teeth the size of the horizon. And within a legion of Cole and Ellie looking forearms, Cole was right. But at the frightful figures were twisted beyond what I'd ever considered my loved ones. Further still, the horizon-eating disaster seemed to have aureola made of sunlight like in old holy paintings. You find God through labor, but this was no God. This was the horror you could never remember when you shoot out of some nightmare. You could be swore was the worst thing you've ever seen. The more you describe it, the sillier it sounds. Grabbed tight to the railings, the legion and things. They didn't attack. They didn't threaten me. Just held out a long, flat, fleshy board. My eyes steadied for enough time to vomit. Saw my own hand with a coin slot stigma fixed into the center. Expectant seemed to be reached out to the world and back to my view. I narrowed my eyes at the coin slot. I beckoned like a toll man. I had a few coins I brought for the sky burial. Was this temptation? I had a few coins I brought for the sky burial. Was this temptation? Or was this the guardian at their souls? I didn't even think before I went to put the coins in whatever madness had formed together to make these hands. Behind it was a swirl of what seemed to be stars. Through the galactic spiral, the boy fetched another bottle from the shelf. So a welding gun came jutting through the demon's vision. The beast dropped, the gun dropped. Colors, boy. Colors! I saw colors, the likes of which I never saw. With the human eye can't see. By the hammer I saw him. And in a place of vision, Colton, red cheeks, alive. Behind him, Ellie, smiling, alive. There was no hallucination, boy. That was them there, plain as day, as if the Torture Me drone cameras were dead at the height above, the cloud cover. I didn't need proof anyhow. I kept my fucking word. I saw my best friends, Cole smiling and tickling Ellie somehow. I sobbed faster, and the sky could freeze the tears. Cole, Ellie, are you safe? Are you okay? I swear on my word, and my word of God himself, I love you both, more than I love life itself. More than I love Illskagaard, or the sun that shines on it. God in heaven, thank you, thank you. Ellie reached out her hand, Gold followed, went to drop coins in their palms. For some fool reason, like I'm gonna buy my loved ones back, but they exploded into the sunlight, them coins. I fell into their arms and swept and wept fiercely. I stood up dutifully. I looked at them both dead in the eye and shook their hands. Thank you. Thank you for your service to Illskagaard. Thank you for your labor and word. Thank you for your friendship and fidelity. Thank you. And for falling in love. So even in death, you two can bug the shit out of me on my fool's mission. You shine the blood that pulses through my heart. They laughed, but no sound came out. I heard it anyway. Their mouths moved, but I couldn't make out what they were saying. I heard it anyway. What they spoke, I'm not about repeating. I gotta keep some treasures buried, you know? And boy, that was the point where my vision blurred. Just like that, it's blurring out right now. Ain't no shame in crying. Let me get you a tissue. Let's get the whole case of them, because I'm drowning. Well, I woke up in the hospital, hooked to all sorts of marvelous machines, kept getting the nurses explaining to me. I grinned with each little detail and asked for more. It's a bit of hopped up on anesthetics, but my throat, but through that, I felt like a lunatic's joy. My belly hurt from all the crying, but I didn't feel anything broken, not even my heart. Even knowing I'm never again going to see my friends, my family, with every swing of my arms and sprint of my step, they'd be there. Rip my eyes out with hooks for all I'd care, because I'd feel cold and elly the whole time. Nurse, did you folks rescue me? I can pay you plenty for that. I ain't about being stingy when I'm born again and all. That's when the stock red-headed nurse with the accent like mine went and said something strange. An accent like mine? You want me to read the nurse like that? Builder Hailsson, you climbed down here for fool's self, and you're awfully glad about it. Councilman had some muttering about how they're fixing to make you. I climbed down my own damn self? I almost died up there. Then I found strength to climb down. I thank the Lord, my best friend for that in human power. Builder Hailsson, Lorel, do you hear what I done said? That's all I could reply to her with. Council pondering on making you high hammer. Oh, hell, you big lug. They plumbed decided oh, that's her. They plumbed decided already. She's a beautiful voice. The hell? I thought she must have been full of beans. Maybe the drugs was winding me up. I'm not meant to lead, don't reckon. I've always been humble with more work. Did what needed doing, but now the doing is warfare and diplomacy. Hell, if I can lead you through this tale, it's a wonder I'll ever question the position of high hammer. Nonsense, I said, trying to wipe tears from my cheeks. She braided my dark red beard in comfort. My brave Lorel, we're better off with someone on the highest fidelity. It's been decided, Lorel. Like I done tried to keep a secret for about 2 seconds. Got a picture in your head of saying no? I switched gears and immediately, dutifully, almost got a bit too giddy, and with hands like bricks, knocked out some of the tubes and mechanisms. If there's work to be done, I'm your man, goddammit. Ha 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 ha. The air still seemed too strong to breathe, but I coughed it out soon enough. I was whelped leave the hospital right quickly. I got my gear, and there was. It was Colton's ashes, Illskagaard. The whole point was the sky burial, and I failed? Nah, boy, I did not fail. I imagine you gotta leave soon, but if you're looking at the new council building, I hold the highest office in the land now, and I built the goddamn thing myself. If you look at the new council building, you're gonna see my sky burial, my best friends. My own office structure is a little weed compared to the leg. That tower of my fate, that which steps upon the heavens themselves. There's the low visitor's entrance, wall, the leg, 2 hands intertwined, the smithered out of rail steel, the bigger one of the two holding the urn, offering himself, the other smaller one offering a joy flower garland, a craft of careful helix braids, offering her work as she always did. I could see that darling smile and that shine of it in the eyes of mine. Brother, says on the building, says, boy, forgive me for weeping. I just got emotional when I tell this. Told you it wasn't one I repeated much. We've gotten awful tilted with the sauce. Told you it wasn't the stuff I was drank much. On that wall, under that forever together, the hands, the greatest folks of my day, the plaque reads. Built by the callous hands of the high hammer Lorel Gunthar Hailsson, to Colton and Elizabeth, Illskagaard. May your work, your joys together in life beyond, work hard and keep your word. May our leader be your bridge. Ain't that sweeter and pie? Hee-haw. And it's got this great image. We fucking did it! Holy fuck, that was a lot of work. I'm fucking sweating. I need to smoke. That was way underbid that job. Holy fuck. Oh my god. Oh my god. That was a lot. We did it. I don't even read that often. How long was that? That was the longest reading I've ever done in my life. That was like 40 minutes.